What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Graft Kings podcast. We are back here in Moomoo's, Kent's hottest nightclub. If you've been following our journey, you'll know that we've literally just got back from Ibiza. So for Ibiza?
Ibiza.
So if we're looking ropey, that is exactly why. However, there is no rest for the wicked.
None.
We're back here. We've got another guest for you, someone who's a king in business and who's a controversial geezer, not scared to speak his mind. The one and only Tyron Ash. What's going on, brother?
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
No worries joining us, mate.
Pleasure to have you.
Pleasure.
Do you want to give us a little background who you are for those watchers who don't know you back home?
Yeah, so my name's Tyron Ash. Obviously, I own a company called Tyron Ash Real Estate. We're an international real estate company. I'm known as the king of real estate because I'm the best at it. And we train a lot of people to do it, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, that's pretty much the briefest introduction I can give you on me. Yeah.
Nice, man.
Is that name from you or is it from
Obviously,
someone
I invented
else?
it.
You invented it, yeah? No one just said
Eventually, it
that.
sticks if you say it enough.
I was going to say that in the intro, but I was like, you know what? I'll let him say it because I know he's gonna.
Yeah, I think, I mean, look, for me, it's like if you're going to call yourself the king, then you better live up to your reputation. But luckily, my results follow the name, so it's all right.
Managing expectations. Then.
That's it, exactly. Yeah,
Exactly.
That's exactly it, yeah.
Well, I know you've obviously taken your business to Dubai, but obviously before we get into that,
Yeah.
I think it'll be best to kind of start off from the beginning. Obviously,
Yeah.
how you led up to that, because I know it wasn't the smoothest of sailing for you,
Yeah.
given certain circumstances.
Yeah.
I know that obviously you've been in the pen before. I don't know how long for, but I think it'll be interesting to know how that kind of came about.
Yeah, I think like the funny thing is it was one of the most painful chapters anyone could like for me that I ever went through. It was the most painful, but it was painful for probably reasons that you wouldn't think. So, for example, of course, it's very daunting when you think, "Shit, I'm going to prison," and then you're on bail and you're waiting for your day to come. It's the worst thing. I remember having to go shopping for clothes with my mum, and you're not shopping for stuff you like. You're shopping for prison clothes, like grey tracksuit bottoms, grey jumpers, stuff that hasn't got branding on it, that sort of stuff. It's just nuts. It's a weird experience, but. The way that come about was I started with very, very good intentions in my life. I was an estate agent. I was a very, very sharp salesperson. I was always the top seller in every estate agency I was, or within the top percentage. And I loved it for a good few years. But the problem was with the industry was there was a ceiling to hit, and I hit it very quickly. So I was running an office at 22 years old. I had a company car. I was getting profit share. I was doing all these different things, and I still wasn't earning over like $2,500 a month. It was just impossible to get over that level. And of course, there's me thinking, God, I want to become a millionaire, or I want to earn a few $100,000 a year, whatever it might be. And it just got frustrating. I tried to raise a bit of money to start my own estate agency, didn't come off. And then I just become very rebellious. I was a rebellious kid in school. I would fight a lot. I would always be in trouble. And I always had too much to say. And it was like one of those things. I was always the problem child, but it was because I wasn't stimulated. It was like as soon as I hit that level in school, I didn't want to read a fucking book. I didn't want to do coursework. I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to try and make money. So I hit that ceiling. Went down a very, very different path, started mixing with the wrong people.
Just quickly, how old was you at this point?
This is 23, 24.
Okay, cool.
Which is, the thing is that age is a real crossroads for a lot of people, because you start off, I think a lot of people start off with very, very good intentions. And then what happens is you set in with, I should be achieving something in my life. And then what happens is insecurities creep in, because friends that are in your group get a better job than you. You start not earning as much money as you think you should. Someone gets a nicer car than you, and all these things that start separating who people are at that kind of real crucial age. That's what set in with me. It was the inferiority complex of, I can earn more money. Why am I not earning more money? My friend's got a better car than me. That sort of stuff. And I'm a very proud person. I always have been. So suddenly I think, I'm going to make money in a quicker way. So I started dealing drugs on the side. I was still working, but it come to like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I thought, right, I can make another $1,000 a week here and facilitate whatever I want. And it just spiraled and spiraled and spiraled, and it went on for years. And I was doing this for about 4 or 5 years.
Oh,
and
wow.
then, literally. And then there was a few people who were around me who got nicked. I was still stupid enough to carry on. And then I just remember at like 6 a.m. one morning, a very, very heavy, loud bang was happening at the door. And I realised that it wasn't a knock. It was the police coming through my front door at 6 a.m., raided the house, took me in. It was banged to rights. There was bloody lists everywhere. I wasn't exactly the most like careful person. I didn't give a shit. I was just doing whatever I wanted. I thought I was above the law. It was nuts. And I was also... I hate to say it, but if I was looking at myself from an outsider perspective, I fucking had it coming. Like I literally, like I was a problem. I was fighting in nightclubs. I was just an ass, and like it just the chickens come home to roost. That was it. It caught up with me. So I spent 12 months on bail. That was nearly as hard as actually going to prison because you just know this. No, you know this date's coming up. You're just prolonging it. It's coming. It's coming. Your own lawyer's telling you it's coming. Like you ain't getting away with this. Wow. So, in a nutshell, I got sentenced to 40 months. So I did 16 inside with 4 months on tag. Went to Woodhill, Ramby, Spring Hill, and in DCAT, and it was a very, very.
Where's that?
So all over, I went up north in Doncaster, Woodhill in Milton Keynes, and then Spring Hill and Aylesbury, which was the DCAT. And it was a crazy experience. It's like being trapped in the world's worst council estate, but you can't get off it. Wow. And I swear to God, it's terrible. I mean, you get there, and my first night in a cell, I was with this really weird, like Eastern European guy. Must have weighed like 6 stone, wringing wet, and he was just an arsonist that had blown up in school, and he was playing with lighters, and they were giving him lighters to play with in the cell. I'm thinking I'm gonna get fucking burned alive in my first night because this guy's nuts. Yeah, he's setting fire to stuff, and he's you know, and I'm just so I didn't sleep a wink the first night because I was just trying to make sure that nothing weird went on, and yeah, it just went from there. And I had a number of experiences in prison that were life changing. But one of the big things was, you know, prison. Yes, you do your time, but it was how that affects the people around you. And I think that's the worst part about it is you think it's all about you until you see it rip your family apart, and that's what it did. It is a very bad time.
Cool.
That's mad.
What would you say was your... No, sorry, go on, man.
I was going to say, did you, what was like the most valuable lesson you learned whilst you were in there? Was there anything they kind of take from that bad experience and turn it into like a positive?
I'll tell you what, there's one thing that will stick in my head till the day I die, and it was when I was in DCAT right towards the end. I was 4 weeks from getting out, and I started feeling a bit more relaxed. I got to see the date coming round. I was in the right year for a start, and it was like, okay, we're getting there. And we used to play 11-a-side football.
Yeah.
Right. So that was one of the things we played. So I obviously fancied myself as a better player, so I'd play. And the thing was that there was like this. I'd try and play as a target man, so try. And there was a guy who was like marking me, and he was about 45, 50 years old. And he was always, you know, leaving his foot in, and, you know, he was just a bit of a dickhead, as you can imagine in some of these games. Anyway, long and short of it was, he was grabbing me a bit as the ball was coming up. I fucking give him, because I was a bigger guy than him, so I sort of shrugged him off, kind of knocked him off me. Next thing, I'm sort of watching this ball come over, and all I remember is getting this whack to the side of my face. I was so hard. The guy's tried to knock my head off my shoulders. Without me looking, it's like a cheap shot from behind you. And all I remember is my vision going like white, and I'm seeing these spots everywhere, and I'm looking down. I'm thinking, am I fucking knocked out? Where am I? But I'm still standing on my feet somehow, and my vision's come back, and there's blood like gushing out my mouth, and it's literally pouring onto my hands. And I thought, fuck, he just hit me. Like, and so I'm coming back, and I'm like, shit. So I'm like, right, well, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, blah, 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 all this sort of stuff. So the prison officer who's reffing it, he was an arsehole, this guy. They're real. When I say a lot of the prison officers in the system, they're very, very bitter people. They're you know, they're on 20, 25 grand a year. They live a very depressing life, some of them. And they hold a lot of hostility in how they go about their job. They like to cause problems. Sure. They're a lot of the time, they're the biggest problems in the prison. This is from what I saw. Well, he looked straight at me, and he says to me, in front of like 22 prisoners playing on the field, and there's a crowd of people in the prison watching the game. And he says to me, "Oh, are you all right?" and I'm spitting blood in my hand. Like, it's clear there's people going like, fucking hell, what's happened, blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking at him and I've gone, what do you mean, am I all right? Like, I've got, like, you can see the blood in my hands and everything. And he's basically, in a nutshell, I keep saying in a nutshell, what he's trying to say is he's trying to get me to turn around in front of 22 prisoners and everyone watching and say, this guy's just punched me in the face. Because the minute I do that,
You're a rat.
I'm a rat, I'm a grass. And then the prisoner, I won't get off the pitch alive. So I just went, no, it's fine. And I carried on playing. So then I get off the field. And obviously, naturally, everyone who knows me is like, right, let's go to his cell. Let's go and fucking do him. That's it. It's done. And I'm like, yo, I'll rip him apart, bro. Fucking all your adrenaline's flying. And then this one older guy grabbed me and he goes, Ty, he's like, just come for a walk. So you could walk around the yard and stuff there. He says, come for a walk for me. So he takes me on a walk and I'm fuming. I'm like, I'm going to fucking do him. He is done. I've lost it. Like, the old me has come flooding back. And he goes, listen, Ty, he goes, I'm not going to tell you what to do. He said, but I'm just letting you know that the guy who punched you is someone who's got nothing to lose. He goes, so he said to me, when do you go out or get out? I said, 4 weeks. He goes, okay, no problem. He goes, you know when he's getting out? I said, no. He goes, neither does he, because he's a lifer. And I was like, okay, so that means one thing. And he said, do you know what he's in prison for? And I said, no. And he said, he caught his girlfriend sleeping with his best friend and he stabbed them both to death.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Like 20 times each. Like, didn't stop, right? So he says to me, I don't doubt that you physically can go into that cell and whatever you think you want to do, you can do. But are you then prepared? Because he's not going to let that go. So are you then prepared to go to that next level and see it through? And I said, no. And he said, well, I suggest you fucking leave it then. And I left it. And this place only had like 200, 300 prisoners in. So I had to walk past this guy 3 times a day.
For the next 4 weeks.
For the next 4 weeks. And that was the biggest lesson I ever learned. It was that, for the number one, I am not about that life. I am not about that life.
So.
And funny enough, all those stupid fights that I used to get in nightclubs and all that sort of stuff, that stopped when I got out. I've had people half my size square up to me in a nightclub and I've walked off. It's never worth it. And anyone who ever gets involved in that,
Yeah.
it is never worth it.
What did 50 say in an interview not too long ago, didn't they? He said that the people in the club, he goes, the ones that are having fights, they're the broke boys.
Yeah.
They're the broke ones, yeah.
They're the broke ones.
Well, funny enough, why was I starting fights? Because I was fucking broke. And I was pissed off. And that's where it come from. Do I feel like fighting now? No. I get annoyed. I'm
I'm a human.
Yeah. But, you don't actually want to have a fight about it. And I think that's the thing, is that, like, when I learned that lesson, that was the final slap that I needed. Like, stop fucking about. Because imagine it didn't happen. It was clear. I still had it in me.
Yeah, clearly.
I still had it in me. The way I reacted, that was the old me. And so that was the biggest lesson I took from it. I got humbled very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. I'm not that guy. I'm not that I'm not a gangster. Stop acting like one, because you're not one. And yeah, it's a
Different world inside there, isn't it?
It's nuts.
Different world.
It's nuts. If you think it's not, but it's terrible. And it's terrible not for some of the reasons you think, but not for all the reasons you think. It's the emotional torture it gives you. You've got no phone. You've got no contact with the outside world. You're queuing up for a blue box phone to phone your mum or phone your dad, and that's your highlight of your day. That phone call. When sometimes people are like, oh, your mum will ring you, your dad will ring you, and it's like, oh, I'll call them back in half an hour.
Yeah.
You get annoyed if your dad hasn't called. If it picked up, sorry. I'll be
Day ruined, isn't it? Yeah.
No, I'll be fuming. And then I'll call him tomorrow. Why don't you pick up? Sorry. I was like, no, it's not on. And I'm losing it with my dad down the phone. It's nuts. It's just your perspective on the whole world changes. And then I had and then I started getting these weird, like, anxiety attacks.
What, she's in there?
And it wasn't in prison.
Oh, wow.
Do you know when I used to get them? I used to get them in the visiting halls. So I was absolutely fine in the day. I could, because I wasn't getting in trouble, wasn't doing anything. But it was when my mum, my dad, my brother would come, and I'd have to sit opposite them for an hour, And suddenly I'm literally having panic attacks because you're embarrassed. You're trying to act like everything's all right, and you're ashamed. It's a weird.
It's a real
Like I said,
feeling,
it's the things that fuck you in there are not the things you think are gonna fuck you. It's yourself. It's your own brain. The biggest battle you will have is with your own brain. That's the big.
If you could kind of go back, would you kind of change going to prison? Because I think in a way it's taught you so much. And before that, like you explained, you was quite an angry kid.
Yeah.
If you hadn't have gone in, do you reckon it could have been worse? Or
it would have definitely been worse. I was an absolute nightmare. I mean, I was, God, drinking constantly doing drugs. I was just a mess, and it was going down a vicious cycle, a vicious spiral. I had no contact with my family, no contact with anyone. It was just, and I had no direction in life, and it was like this. So the weirdest thing about it was my road I was going down was like such an extreme that it needed this extreme thing to happen to knock me back in place. So it was weirdly the most badly wrapped gift I've ever been given.
It's not a good way to put it.
Yeah,
good expression.
It was. I hate to say it, but I wouldn't change it. It was just nuts because I still think about it today. But it's not who I am. I look at that person, and that guy in there is not me. So yeah, but that was the most. I mean, you'd almost say you wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy. It was a painful experience.
it must have changed your perspective on life and the way you view society when you come out as well. Because then they're looking at you in a certain way as well.
Yeah.
But it must have changed how you view a lot of things and what you want. So was that the pinnacle moment you kind of came out and said, right, I'm not going back into this. So
yeah.
And that's it. I'm going to do something myself.
Well, funny enough, it was so my dad is more traditional, as in like how you make your money, stuff like that. I'm this extrovert entrepreneur now, but back then I just wanted approval from my family. So it was like, Dad, whatever you want me to do, I'll do. Do you want me to work in Tesco's? I'll work in Tesco's. No problem. I just need to get like my family back on side. He was like, you need a trade. He said, you need a trade. So he made me do an electrician's course. And like, I was such a bad electrician, like unbelievably bad. But I did it. Like, so I started doing these jobs, and I was following this electrician around for 50 quid a day, and it was I was so bad.
What age are you here now?
Hey,
what age are you there
this
now?
is 30.
That's 30.
Oh, wow.
That's what I'm saying.
So how old did you when you come out of prison? Just about
30. Just turned 30.
Oh, wow.
Bloody hell, right, okay,
I had my
fine.
30th birthday in prison.
God, fucking hell.
My friends on the wing made me a cake. Like, 30 is a big one.
Yeah, and then now you're earning £50 a day.
Yeah, and then I was out there. So basically, the guy who hired me as an agent when I was very, very good in the day, he was one of my biggest kind of. He inspired me a lot to get good performance out of me back then. But we went our own ways, and he messaged me. I think it was on Facebook at the time, and he was like, "Oh, are you free for a chat? I'm glad to hear that you're out. Blah blah blah. I've just heard blah blah blah." And then he calls me and he just says, "Look, would you get back into property?" And I said, "No, there's no money in it. I need to make money. I'm going to do a trade. My dad wants me to do a trade, blah, blah, blah." So then he said, "Look, you always wanted to sell big properties. He was connected to a business where they had an office in North London, so around like Cockfosters, Hadleywood, Barnet areas,
nice.
Big houses." He said, "Let me take you on a drive down there and just show you these houses." So he picks me up on a Saturday, grab a bit of lunch, drives me around Hadleywood, and I think, I've never seen houses this big in my life. I lived in a 2 up, 2 down, and I've seen these houses that look like hotels. Corrugated iron gates, fountains on the driveway, windows as big as the house I'm living in. And I just thought, God, how much do these sell for? And so I'm doing the maths, because I always used to have to do the maths. And he was like, "Well, that's about 3 million, that's about 4 million, that's about 2 million, that's about 5 million." I was like, "So what fees do you charge?" Like, "Well, 2%, 2.5%. I was like, "So that's a 60 grand fee if I sell the house?" And he goes, "Yeah. So you'll get X amount of percentage that you'll be on, because we do commission only here." And I was like, "What? So I could earn like 15 grand selling one house is what you're telling me?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Yeah." And I said, "Oh, I'll start Monday then." Like,
Sign me up.
Do you know what it reminds me of? Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
Because what? If I sell one of his penny stocks,
Look at 50% share, you doing $2,000? Yeah. And I will personally suck your
Yeah, it was.
And I hope it happens.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great, that scene, isn't it? And that was it. It was like, and of course, my dad's expecting me to carry on with electrical work, and then I just said, look, it's not happening, Dad. I want to do property, but this is seriously good. And he was behind me. He said, look, if that's what you want to do, just do it. Stay out of trouble. Blah blah blah. I didn't tell them that I'd been to prison though. So to be fair to the guy who was my friend, he was high up in the company, but he didn't tell him either because he was trying to help me. So I was going to work for the first 4 months with a tag on my leg, and I had to get probation to extend my time that I'm allowed out till to 9 o'clock
for viewings
because I had a job.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I'm racing. Sometimes I'd have like 7 o'clock appointments, and I'm racing up the M25
Sweating.
to try and get back. And it was and that was how it started. And then but I always remember thinking to myself, I wanted this so much. I never wanted something so much. I was like, this is my fucking ticket out of it. Like, I need to sort this to get hold of this. So basically, I thought the only way, because they're going to find out one day. They are going to find out one day because the head office just clearly hasn't run their checks.
Yeah,
they kept sending through this form to do a CRB check, and I kept not doing it. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll get it done. But it was a big company, so it
takes ages for it to come back round,
you know, and all this sort of stuff. So they weren't really chasing me, but every month they'd give it a chase, you know. So I thought, right, just get to a level where you're so good, or at least you're good enough that if it does come back, they'll go, oh, we'll make an exception for him. And by the time, and I was running the office by this point, so I had the guys working for me. I was the profit shareholder, or whatever you want to call it. And then they said, oh, something's come up, and I knew what they're coming. They come for a meeting, and he goes, the guy coming from head office, he said, do you know what I'm going to ask you? And I said, yeah. And he goes, why didn't you tell us? And I said, because you wouldn't give me the job, would you? And I said, so you're going to sack me? And he said, no. And I was like,
good man.
Well, it worked. Yeah, well, it worked. So, so that was, that was how I kind of got into it. But it was a hell of a journey to get there.
Cool, yeah.
And it just kind of went from there, really.
Can you explain the transition from? Well, that's a hell of a story, by the way. And the people listening, I don't know about you, lot. I was
so engrossed. I'm like, can't wait.
I didn't want that to stop. I was just listening. I was like, yeah, wow, man. How did it go? A little bit of a jump. So how long was you working in the office before you got to that point there where you sort of running the office?
It took me about 6 months.
Okay.
But I was, because the thing was I had the original talent of selling houses,
course, yeah,
but I was selling cheaper houses. So then I started, now with anything, this applies to like any sort of business, is that I'm a massive believer, and this is only from my experience from 30 onwards. I'm 37 now, so that's 7 years.
Wow, you turned your life around in 7 years.
Yeah, I just did that.
That was my next question. I was going to go, how old are you now? And I'm 30 to 37. My brother, that's mad.
It's
fair play.
It's frightening. And it's actually weird that because I applied myself, and I mean, when I say applied myself,
everything.
No, I mean like obsessively applied myself. This wasn't like, I'm going to give it a go. This was like, I don't want to talk to anyone or interact with anything or anyone until I've got my results in. And that was how much I committed to it. So it was like an unhealthy commitment, or I believe it's a healthy commitment.
Yeah, sure.
And
it's paid dividends, isn't it?
And it turned around, and that took me 6 months to start running the office. I remember my first thing was, I kept saying to the guy whose business it was, I kept saying, listen, you've got a lot of shit agents in here, and I'm pulling in all the numbers myself. You know, and anyway, he said, right, I want you to run the office, etc., etc. There was 5 people all sat around a table talking, and I walked in. I went, right, I've got an announcement. I'm running the office now. I'm in charge. And they went, oh, congratulations. I went, yeah, well, you're all fucking fired. And I got rid of everyone. And then there was me and the administrator. And then I said, and they were like, what? I said, honestly, I've told you like what you need to be doing. You're not doing it. You're claiming this area, you're claiming this area, you're claiming this area. None of you got any listings. None of you have made any sales. You're all fucking fired. Get out. And this has already been authorized. It's done. You're already out. And then literally me and the administrator, she literally turned into basically my PA. I was out all day door knocking, prospecting and all this. Started pulling in some really good numbers. And, I wasn't polished. I was good. I was raw.
He was grafting.
Yeah, I was raw. I was raw. And yeah, and that's how it kind of unfolded. Then we started hiring, but what I got hold of massively then was, this was the time you don't realize, but social media hasn't been around that long.
No, yeah, sure.
So as much as it's everywhere you look now, obviously, of what you guys are doing with your podcast and all this sort of stuff, you think it's been around for donkey's years. It hasn't. And like when we're talking about when I was like probably 31 at this stage, it's only 6 years ago, and it was literally like Instagram was just picking up.
Yeah, just pictures.
You wouldn't see many people with over like 10,000 followers. Like it was, if someone had that K next to their name, it was like, oh God, they've got loads of followers. And so I was the first person in the UK to ever start doing these like property tours where like the drone comes in, and, you know, and I had to search. I got a guy who was a friend of mine who was doing nightclub photography and videography.
Yeah.
And I said, would you ever do a property video? He goes, oh, I don't know, I've never done one. And like no one had ever done one. So suddenly I'm there in like these double-breasted suits and I'm doing these tours of these houses that's never been seen before. Everyone was ripping the shit out of me, like everyone. And it started banging on social media. And then I was getting all these listings from different parts of the country because they're going, oh, I want you to do it on my house. I want you to list my house. So the problem was with the business that I was there is they had geographically allocated franchise areas.
Okay.
So that meant when I had someone in like Chelsea who wanted to list a £3 or £4 million house with me, they weren't letting me do it because they wanted me to hand it over to their other office. And I was like, you, I've just got it through Instagram. You're not having it.
Yeah.
So then that was me butting heads again with head office. And then in the end I had to leave. So so my social media started really exploding. That's how I kind of really got on the map, was I differentiated how you market properties, how you get them sold. And then from there, it just, you know, there was a number of different things that brought me towards where I got with my business. But yeah.
Can you tell us about that transition? What was that sort of pinnacle moment where you went, I'm going out by myself? And then the follow-up to that would be how you took it from here to Dubai.
Yeah. So I think like one of the things that I started really knuckling down on was the two main areas was business, as in like how to actually make money and your attitudes to making money, your processes to making money. What's your day-to-day? What should your day-to-day look like if you're trying to make millions of pounds? And then real estate. So how do you become the best at real estate? How do you become the best at selling luxury property?
Yeah.
What is the processes? What are the world's best agents doing? How do you market them? How do you price them? How do you do open houses? All these different things, right? And I just got so obsessive. I remember listening to podcasts. I listened to Grant Cardone podcast, audiobook. I swear on my life, I listened to that 10x audiobook around 50 times back to front. I just had it in my ear. I wanted to be like hypnotized by his voice. I had it to the point where it was at speed 7.
I've seen it as well.
And it was like, and he was like talking, but I could hear the words because I've heard it so many times. And I just had it constantly. I was hypnotized. Like I was like whatever it's called. Like,
I'm with you.
Conditioning my own brain. And it was so nuts, but I was so committed. I was like, I need his mindset in my brain. 100%. It was weird. Like, and I was so obsessive. And then it got to the point where it was like, I needed more freedom. So I needed to be able to list and sell property anywhere in the country because that was what I was getting. I was getting it from everywhere. So I joined this other American company. They said, don't worry, we're the solution to your problems. You can list and sell wherever you want. It's commission only. We'll make you your personal brand, blah, blah, blah. I was like, fucking jackpot. Found them, right? Turns out the problem was their whole business, their agents were so bad that like their average listing price was like 250 grand. My average sale price was like 1.7 million. So I had clients that were my clients that were friends. I'd go over to their houses for dinner and all this sort of stuff. They wouldn't let me list their properties because they didn't want it to go on a list of properties next to 200 grand.
Yeah, of course. Makes sense.
So I was like, that's not the solution. So I remember like the last day in the office and I'm just like, why is everyone so shit in here? Like, I was like, and but I lost because I was like, so that like aggression's never left me. It's never gone. But it's just,
attitude,
but it's just channeled into business only. So this was the time I really realized that I was going to leave. And I just said, there's nearly 30 people sat in this fucking office. And I was like, I did the stats because I was got really into my figures and numbers and everything. And I was like, I've got 75% of the business's listings. That's me personally, which means there's now 34 other people, or 32 or whatever it was, that are in this office that are sharing 25% of the entire office's listings. I said, why are you even here? Like, you haven't got a business. You're not making any money. And I said, and I picked this one guy and he's sitting there minding his own business. I went, how many listings have you got? How many have you got? And he went, 2. I went, that ain't a fucking business. You're not making any money. Go home. There are people in McDonald's making more money than you. It's fucking embarrassing. Have you got kids? Are you trying to feed your family on this? This is nuts. So I just left. And then I thought, right, I'm fucking back to square one again. So I was like, what am I going to do? So I realised what I wanted didn't exist. And I'd actually forced myself into finding this niche. And then I thought, right, I've got to do it. I've got to set it up. I've got to go, my personal brand's big. Everyone knows who I am. I've got these luxury properties I'm selling. I've got a track record. I know what I'm doing. And so I just thought, right, now, but I had money, but I didn't have that much money because I was also making like anywhere between 8 and 15, 16 grand a month. So it was good money, more money than I've ever earned in my life. So I was smashing it like in London and stuff. I was getting shit-faced 3 nights a week and I was enjoying life, but I probably had 20 grand in my bank, if I'm honest. And I had to set this business up. I had money coming in, had another like probably 20, 25K commission I'd coming in. So I reckon I'd have had about 40, 45 grand. But I was renting an expensive apartment. I was driving a Mercedes that was with insurance was costing me 800-900 quid a month. So my means were quite high. So I rung my landlord. I hope he's not watching this. I rung my landlord and I said, "Hi mate, look, I've made a decision. I've got to set up my own business." And this rent was like 2.5 grand a month, about nearly 3 grand a month. I was like, I've got to set my own business up. And he's like, brilliant, congratulations. And I was like, yeah, it's not that straightforward. I said, I'm not paying your rent. And he was like, what? And I said, look, the reason I'm telling you this is because I'm not saying I'm never paying your rent. What I'm saying is right now I need 3 months of like a sabbatical from paying your rent.
Yeah.
Now I said, if I'm honest, I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. So I swear, I said, I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. However, I will put in writing to you that within that 3 months, it will be a cut-off of 3 months or before, I will pay you all the rent you're owed. But I need 3 months. I need some breathing space, right? And he went, okay, now he went silent for ages. And then I was like,
first one to speak,
yeah,
loses.
Yeah. And then he just went, fine, put it in writing to me, just make sure it's paid, blah, blah, blah. And I paid him after like 7 weeks because I'd had a pipeline that carried over. I got him in, but I just needed some breathing space.
Yeah, sure.
And then that's how it started. So I then went on. So the funny thing was, and I say funny now, but it wasn't at the time, was as I set the business up, which was January 2020.
God,
You know, it's coming.
Course.
Yeah, it was, and and then it gets to like,
set it up here though, yeah,
yeah,
set up in the UK, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a few things going on in the news about like a pandemic and this, that, and the other, and I'm like, okay, I ignored it. I need to sell houses. I need to sell houses. Sell houses. Boom, March comes, lockdown. I'm like, you've got to be shitting me. You've got to be. I am balls to the wall on this. I've got nothing left, right? So suddenly I'm like, I move out my flat, obviously, because I paid him his rent, but I couldn't carry on renting there because I was worried about what was going on. I'm now tied into Rightmove, Zoopla, the website, my CRM system. I've got more contracts I've committed to than fucking anything. Yeah.
Well.
And so I am myself royally at the moment. And like, basically, I waited for the announcement from Boris at the time, and he said, you're not allowed to go into your offices. No one's allowed to work at an office. But the housing market is remaining open. So I was thinking, okay, well, that's positive, right? The housing market is remaining open. I moved in with my friend in Northamptonshire, stayed at his house, and we just like buddied up together because we were both locked down with no one about. And then I started thinking, well, all my agents work remotely and are connected remotely, so we haven't got the office restrictions. All of our competition aren't allowed in their offices, and the housing market's open. So I was like, well, let's
Let's capitalise on this.
Suddenly,
100%.
I recruited 60 agents in 3 months because everyone was sat at home doing nothing. So I was doing recruitment webinars every other day with 50, 60 people on a webinar.
I remember you doing that.
Yeah, literally recruiting. Don't get me wrong, there was a lot of shit in there, but recruiting. And then we built this team up and we started churning out money. And then by I think it was about May. May was our first 50 grand month.
Can you just elaborate on that for us, Tyron, in terms of how, what did that look? What did the day-to-days look like for the team? How were they doing viewings and things like that? How did it work?
So there was restrictions because we had newspapers calling us and everything saying you are doing viewings and open houses during lockdown, and we said, well, Boris said the housing market's open, so they're allowed to view. So I would tell people to go door knocking, and they, you remember you're not allowed in a certain space of each other. So I said, go and get some rubber gloves, go and get a mask, put a fucking hazmat suit on if you have to, go and knock on the door and stand at the end of the drive and say, we can sell your house. We can do video viewings. We can get people to look at the property, and people, you remember you're only allowed 1 walk a day?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that excluded if you're going to view houses. So you're allowed to view houses.
That's mad.
So I was dancing so close for the fire, and I was like, just do it, get them in. We had an open house where someone recorded it, and there was 120 people in during lockdown. And it was nuts because I think people just wanted to get out of the house.
Yeah, it's an excuse to get out. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, I'm going to have a look at that house. There's an open house, and they were out, because you couldn't go out. So we built this business during lockdown. And funny enough, by the time lockdown come off, I was a bit disappointed because we had that. It was literally the version of fighting your enemy, and they got their hands tied behind their back because they didn't work from home. No one was going into the offices, the other estate agents, and we were working from everywhere, connecting remotely, doing video viewings, meetings on Zoom, all of this stuff.
Yeah, wow.
And we fucking killed it. And then it was we did like I said, 50 grand in I think it was May. April we did 30, but then July we did 60. And suddenly we started churning some money out. And then I think we did probably close to £500,000 in 6 months, which wasn't bad.
Yeah.
And then suddenly we were away, and then it just kind of went from there. But yeah, that's where it was built. It was built during lockdown. It's fucking mad.
What was your biggest listing in the UK? I think I've seen it, but
we had a few at 20 million, 21 million, 19 million. We sold one at 12, one at 9. We've sold loads at 5 and 6s.
What's the fee that one of your is it agents you would call them?
Yeah. So
one of your agents would make off the back of that.
Yeah. So give you a round number, £5 million. £5 million. We charge 2.5%. So that's £125,000. So they get 50% of that. So they done 67,500.
That's mad.
No,
60 G's, baby.
Is that right? Yeah, no, is it a bit more? Yeah, I'm terrible.
Give or take.
But yeah. So about 60 something thousand.
You're expected to do what, a house a month, 2 houses a month?
Well, obviously, your bread and butter is £1 million, £1 million, but that's still good money. £1 million at 2.5% is 25 grand. So you earn 12.5 grand from one sale if you list and sell it. So we've got people earning 50, 60, 70 grand a month in the business. Many people.
That's mental. 5
or 6 of our agents have picked up supercars. People have paid off their houses, mortgages. Loads of kids go to private school in our company. There's loads of, loads of people have changed their lives. And the reality is it's through wealth. One thing that I built the business on was I wanted, you remember all the problems I was talking about that I had? Can't operate in this area, can't do this, can't do that, can't earn this, can't earn that. I just took all my problems and loaded them into the solutions of this business. So even to the point where it's people have profit shares and can run big teams and grow businesses. So now it's literally, if you're established in our business, and we've had it, by the way, there's not one, by the way, I'll go on record to say this, there is not one person in 3.5 years who has left our business, set up a business, a rival company, which they can't do anyway now, they're strapped up with the contracts, but sets up a rival business in real estate and has gone on to earn more money, every single one, because we've engineered it so it's so profitable that for you to go back to square one and set up on your own, you need your fucking head examined. You need your head examined. It's too profitable. So literally that's what we've got now. I think there's even, I think 1 or 2 people have done 100 grand in a month. Like
That's
it can be
mental.
done. Yeah, it can be done.
You get a lot of stick from estate agents. I've seen it myself firsthand online. I know with the way you do things is a bit more unorthodox, a bit more bullish with the videos you put out there. Yeah. But what do you think that's kind of down to? What is the kind of the beef between you guys?
I think the big thing with me is that I will, I'm the person that highlights people's insecurities. So if you're an agent and you work 50, 60 hours a week and you earn 30 grand a year and you drive a 3 Series BMW and you work every weekend and all the thing, and and you wear rubbish suits, it's like all these things are your insecurities. Now, if you don't wear rubbish suits and you don't drive a 3 Series and you earn 150 grand a year, what I've just said is not going to offend you. But if you just fit that profile and your family's relying on you to support them, then I think I've just touched a nerve. And that is what we do, is that for me, I will say to someone, why do you need the security of a basic salary of £1,500 or £2,000 a month, or whatever it might be, so that you can earn £2,700 a month or £3,000 a month? Why don't you take zero salary, back yourself, learn how to do the job to the level I went to do it, which is obsessive, like become the best at it, bang in 3 or 4, 5 deals, and you could be doing £30,000-40,000 a month, and then you could put your kids in private school, you could buy a Range Rover or a Ferrari or whatever you want to do. So the reason I get so much stick is because I rub against those exposed nerves, because I'm trying to spark insecurity in people's thoughts, because I'm trying to question their existence. Like, what is what I'm doing, is what they're doing the best they could be doing for themselves? My answer is no, and that's why I do it. But like, it's not because I think I'm better than them. It's not that. For me, it's all about, again, we could get a bit more philosophical with it, but I believe that human beings, we need significance. So funny enough, what everybody works, people think it's money. It's not money. I know rich people who walk into a room, they'll have 3 bottles of Dom Perignon in front of them, they'll have a watch that's worth £150,000, but no girl in the room will look at them. And then I know someone who's ripped to death, best looking guy ever, but they haven't got a pot to piss in. It's, so actually the ripped guy with no money is jealous of the guy with the Dom P, and the guy with the Dom P wants what the ripped guy's got. And it's like, but they're both lacking significance. Where significance comes from is that you've got to have the fulfillment that because I'm talking from a man's perspective, by the way. Sure. But like, as a man, I certainly feel the pressure is that you've got to be in shape, you've got to have money, you've got to have everything, you've got to be good looking, you've got to do everything. And it's like those things all together, or certainly part of them together, can give you significance. So it's like with someone who gets significance from other areas, it's like a charity worker might not care about money, but they help thousands and thousands of people, and that gives them their existence, that gives them their significance. Sure. That's brilliant as well. It's like, but if you haven't got significance, then you'll feel very unfulfilled. That's what I believe.
That's mad.
Yes, no, it's very true.
I'm so engrossed.
Yes, yeah, what sparked Dubai? What made you say, yeah, let's go to Dubai and do this?
Yeah, I think that was, again, something that crept up on me. I think, funny enough, the intention of a lot of the moves I've made have been something inside of me that's been like a voice going off, and it's been an irritating voice. And then, like, I was going on holiday 3 or 4 times a year to Dubai. I was in a very, very good position in the UK. I didn't have any reason to start pushing myself in a different direction, but I could see every time I was going on holiday, I was hearing stories of people and like real estate agents that were earning all this money selling a property, and how buoyant the market was, and how many billions has been spent on people buying, certainly with the UK being the #1 buyer in the entire world in Dubai.
Wow. Bloody hell.
Well, that was a statistic that stuck in my head.
Yeah,
because I was like, okay, so they're not third, they're not fourth, they're first. I
would have said someone like China or Russian.
India was second. Funny enough, Italy were third. which I was surprised at because it's not the biggest country, but a lot of Italians, very, very good business people in Italy.
Yeah.
And they are flooding to Dubai. And actually a lot of the business owners in the restaurants and bar industry are Italian.
Yeah, of course,
so,
sure.
I know a lot of Italians out there making a lot of money. So anyway, I kind of just thought, God, this is now another thorn in my side because if I've done it in the UK, which was probably the most rigid market in the world, or one of them, not in the world, but certainly it's difficult. I thought, okay, this needs a bit of planning. So I just went there, I spent 3 months investigating it, researching it. I went walking into real estate offices, just turned up, right, who owns this place? And like, oh, can you tell me about your business? I'm interested in it, blah, blah, blah. I have analysed the whole market. I know the holes in it. I know what I'm going to expose, as in like what I did with the UK. I know that Dubai real estate is extremely corporatized. People are sitting in rows of desks like battery hens.
Yeah, literally.
And phone. There's no individuality. And that's where we're going to shine. And we're already starting to do it. We did like 10 deals in our first 5-6 weeks, which is unheard of. And we've got an amazing team. They're not the biggest team. I think we've got about 15, 20 agents. Not bad in the first 2 months, but like we're not recruiting volume, we're recruiting quality.
For sure.
And it started well. But yeah, it's an amazing market. Dubai is an amazing place. And what the government and people there are planned now is nothing short of like mind blowing. It's a phenomenal place.
So how long have you been live in Dubai with the team?
Only about 9 weeks, 8 weeks, 9 weeks.
Okay, so very new, very new.
Yeah.
So, in terms of elaborating on what you said then, in comparison to the teams and agents that are already out there, to your approach and how you set your team up to get these houses, list them, sell them, etc. Like, what is that difference?
I think there's again, this could be another hour conversation, which I don't want to bore everyone with. But like, I think the main thing is that what I've noticed with a lot of the structures of these offices is a little bit like estate agencies. They'll put somebody on like Damac Hills, someone on Emirates Hills, someone on Jumeirah Golf Estates, whatever it might be, right? And that's your little remit, and you're only allowed to list and sell there. And then you're only allowed to list and sell there. So if I pick up someone who wants to buy an off plan in Business Bay, I've got to hand it to either the off plan division or to something like that.
Yeah.
Something in, well, you're not, even though you're all in one office, you're not too dissimilar to estate agencies in the UK because they've set it up very, very similar. There's a lot of UK estate agency people that have set up out there.
Yeah.
So my vision has always been what we were saying at the start.
If you get it, you list
if
it.
If you're good enough.
Yeah. So they do it by geographical regions.
So,
you've got South East, you've got Kent, you've got Bromley.
Yeah. And for me, that's not how real estate works. Now, what will happen is you'll get
real estate's all about people.
Of course it is. And it's even more about people in Dubai.
Sure.
Because funny enough, what I quite like with the Dubai market is that you don't just need listings to do business. So if someone calls you up from the UK or wherever and says, I'm interested in buying in Dubai, that person is more valuable than all the listings because the buyer is the power. So that buyer might go and buy some off-plan property, might go and buy a villa, might go and buy this, might go and buy that. And you can even take them to other agents' properties, split the commission with them on a listing you don't even have, and then take them to an off-plan developer, take 5-6% commission off them. The power's with the buyer. And so a good agent should know how to do everything. And I train people how to become a 360-degree agent. They should be able to list on the secondary market, do open houses, do all the stuff that we teach in the UK. But when a buyer calls up and says, I'm interested in buying in Dubai, you should also have the ability to shift them the correct off-plan options and actually sell them something that can be an investment purpose or to build a portfolio. So for me, that's what real estate is. It's about being the best at everything, not just going, oh, it's not in Jumeirah Golf Estates, I can't sell it.
I think it makes perfect sense. Yeah,
100%. I work in a very, very different industry to you, like completely different. I do manage print solutions and sell lease contracts for them. And when I first started my business, when I first started working for the company 4 years ago, it was exactly set up geographical. You had your own areas. And I'm the youngest in the company. And I dissolved that. I said, this is stupid because I've got, again, the same reason I have Instagram, and Instagram is the main source of my leads, and not all my people in my company are all older people. They unheard of that never work. You can't do that to sell this.
Classic. Yeah.
And I did, and that's how I got nearly all of my business is from Instagram. So because I was saying, look, I'm not going to do it otherwise, and then they said, well, we're not going to bring in new business if we don't let them do it. So we dissolved all the areas. Now everyone can go and sell in their area.
Yeah.
But now everyone's bringing more new business because everyone's kind of
branched out.
Yeah,
nice.
But I don't know why everyone's got why you're fixed to one location.
It's weird, yeah. Old ways.
It's old thinking, isn't it? It's very old thinking.
The funny thing is that like because I think people believe that people get confused by organisation and structure. So to be organised, that means that you know exactly what you've got to do, when you've got to do it to get the exact result, which is what you were just saying. You're organised. You know that if you push that content out, it's going to attract these leads, and then you deal with those leads in the correct way, and you're organising yourself to do it. Complete structure, if you do it in that way, is great. But if you're just putting a structure in place for the sake of having a structure, that's counterintuitive. That's actually going to limit someone. That's going to demotivate someone.
Yeah. It's
going to limit where they can sell, what they can do.
Facts.
It's so easy to measure. Like that's the funny thing about it. It's like I remember like when we started the business at Tyron Ash, people would go, "Oh, I see they'd say to another agent, I see you've listed this property in my area," they'd say. And I'd go, "Well, what makes it your area?" "Oh, well, I live there." I said, "So? That doesn't mean you've got a business. That means you live somewhere. You've got 0 listings in that area. You don't have an area. You're almost homeless." It's nuts. Like it's nuts. So we said, you don't have areas. If you've got a large array of sales you've done and listings and regular clients, yeah, you can say that's your area, but you're still not going to stop someone listing one near you because you should have got that listing if it's your area.
That's very true. Yeah, that's very true.
So that has to be eradicated because you want the best agents dealing with the properties. And
for sure.
We've had agents that. So how we work it is that like if we get an agent that like brings someone in and then they get, say you've got someone who's got a property and then they go, "Oh, by the way, I've got this house in Alderley Edge. It's in Cheshire to sell. It's £3-4 million or something, monster of a house." You're not going to just hand it over to someone for nothing.
Yeah, no way.
You're going to get on the train or drive up the motorway and do the open house. Or if you don't want to keep going up and down, you can offer a commission split with someone and they can work with you on it.
Facts.
But it's your listing. And like that is how
that's the best way to do it.
Logical thinking.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so logical. But people
I can't make that work logistically for me, but I know
dinosaurs.
Bob up north will sell that for me. Do you know what I mean? Bob, there's a house, 50-50.
Yeah,
exactly.
Sure.
Done. Yeah, and they'll be happy. They're getting
sweet. Okay, you ain't got to find it. All you've got to do now is sell it. So
100%.
Yeah, but
It's like
so
what Dana
true.
White said, isn't it? All these people who are stuck in their ways, they're all dinosaurs. They're all there. They don't think with the times. They're all just. Everyone told me Instagram won't work for all that shit. And people are just so
100%.
Close-minded.
close-minded, didn't they? Listen, Tyrone. Listen, you most engrossed I've ever been.
Yeah, I agree with
I
that.
just realised it's only been me speaking.
Yeah,
Good. Loved it, mate. Just listening.
But you're a controversial character, man. We haven't got that side out of you yet, and I know we're limited on time and stuff because obviously you got meetings and stuff after this. But talk to me a little bit about. I know we're moving off subject, and I don't really want to.
No,
I don't.
No,
but
I
want to talk to you because I watched a few of your videos and stuff. The dating scene, versus UK versus Dubai. Can you tell me a bit about that? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think obviously, as you know, I won't have much experience or any experience actually for the record, but like, but I think that there's definitely a clear kind of. I'm trying to word this correctly. Dubai is structured differently from the UK. I think that there is some professional daters out there that fill up a lot of the gaps. So what you'll see is women who dating is their career. We call them prostitutes, but like there's a lot of that in Dubai. There's men going out there that don't give a shit. They've got money and they will literally
they do give a shit.
Yeah. yeah. Some stories.
Got it now, Go on, sorry, man.
No, I mean, I've heard the stories as well, and funny enough, they're from quite like there's been some quite well-known influencers that have been chucked under the bus and stuff. It's unfortunately, it's just, or fortunately, whichever way you look at it, it's just one of those things that seems to be there. But I don't know. I don't want to comment too much on it, but there's certain places.
I suppose maybe could you elaborate on? So you're with someone at the minute.
Yeah.
Was you with them in the UK or did you meet her out there?
No, in the UK. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
right. Okay.
in the UK,
Fine.
And it's just I guess that like, you know, you don't want to say too much, but then it's like everyone knows it exists.
Sure.
Everyone knows it exists. And I think that that's just how it is. It's just how it is.
So what would your advice be on that question to like 4 young single guys who want to go and like, we love Dubai. Our plan is to move and live out there anyway. You're probably going to inspire us a little bit more now to get a rocket up our ass and get out there. But like, what advice would you give in terms of high points, low points to people thinking about moving to Dubai, starting a life for themselves out there?
I think Dubai is a brilliant place because it's got everyone's got the attitude that they're on the hustle, they want to earn, they want to make the connection, they want to get to the next stage of business. And for me, you know, if you are set on getting yourself to that next level, it's an area that can really facilitate that. You've just got to decide what that route is that you want to go. And also, people are doing it the wrong way. Like I use real estate as an example. Real estate has a 95% failure rate of real estate agents that are going over there with companies. 95%.
Yeah.
Might even be higher.
Wow.
There are agents that are going over there that don't do a deal for like 9 months, and they save up 10, 15K, and then they blow it all in surf club, and they're just hanging around with the fucking idiots that are on the desk next to them in the office because they're there together. It's like a little thing.
Yeah.
Oh, have you got any deals? Have we done any deals together? Who's that contact? It's like, no, get rid of them and go out and fucking find some people with money and go network with the right people. But they don't understand that. So if you want to do it, you've got to understand the pitfalls, and then you've got to be focused on getting to where the money is very, very quickly. Which can be done easily as well, but you just got to understand the route. And I think people get sold a dream out there. That's the other thing, the Dubai dream.
There's a lot of temptation out there though. Like I think Dubai has so many things that you can do compared to other countries. Obviously, I know yourself. I know you, and I've seen back in the day. You used to like to party, mate. 4 or 5 days in Mayfair. That's all I used to see at the shows. I saw it all. I saw it all. But like, how do you keep that balance out there? Because the temptation is from here to here with Dubai.
I think it's the thing for me was that I had this dream when I was younger. Like, as in not when I was younger. When I started making a bit of money and I got into London, I used to see these people getting these champagne shows done, and I used to think to myself, God, how much money are they spending? And I used to think, I want that to be me. Like, I want that to be me. And I went for a phase where I was out 3-4 nights a week. I was in like all of the Mayfair clubs, spending obscene amounts of money. I think one night it was the night that I woke up and I was like, this has gone too far. And I remember me and my friend, we spent like around 35 grand on this table, and I felt fucking sick. No, but I felt sick because I was actually ashamed. I was thinking, oh my God, we did it. I was like, this isn't funny, mate. This is not one of those stories.
Yeah.
Although I'm telling it now, but like, maybe it was worth it. I'm not telling you about when I spent $1 grand, am I? So maybe it was worth it. But like, it was just, and I just remembered like, God, I just remember looking around this table, and there was me and him, and you can pretty much picture the settings. And it was, and it was just bottle after bottle after bottle, and each time my name's on the board, and I'm getting excited. And I just thought, what are we doing? And I just remembered like the card machine coming over, and it said like, it was 18 and a half. I was battered, but like 18 and a half grand. And I looked at it, and you know when you stare at a card machine and you cannot believe the number that's coming back at you, and you're just thinking, this can't be right. And that was the time I had some real time off after that.
Yeah,
not just because of money, but it was
emotionally.
Yeah, I was like, that's not okay. Like, that's not okay. You can't be doing that. So yeah, but I did some big spending in around there. But it was fun. Like, it was probably some of the best memories. But it was just, you can't sustain it.
No,
I don't just mean the money. Like, I mean your health.
Yeah,
I mean your health. I was a mess.
This is why I didn't come out with you when you asked me, because I knew I had to remortgage my gap, and I don't think I want to do that.
Well, the good thing is now is that you kind of get out your system, and it's like, so even if I like meet my friend in a bar or a club or something like that, I might do like 500 quid or something like that, like 300 quid each. maybe on a good
Instead
night.
of a great night, do you know what I mean?
But I don't care if the person's doing champagne shows next
No,
to me.
no,
Whereas it
that's
used to be a competition
Yeah.
before. Now I don't care because it's all bollocks. It's all bullshit. So
true.
you know, you haven't. You know, it is, and then you start actually. If you actually slow your drinking down a little bit, you analyze who that there's like 40 guys around one table and they're all chipping in money, and you're trying to compete with them with you and your mate. It's just stupid. And like, I think that, you know, listen, it is good fun, but like, you know, you can't do it 4 nights.
It's all about balance, I suppose, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think having a missus like keeps you that balance as well between going out? Because I'm guessing if you're a single man and there's more temptation as well. But
I think there's, you know, it's good to. I'm an advocate with both. So I'm not somebody who says like, oh, get a good woman behind you and you're going to be successful. That's not my motto at all. I think that if you find someone that's got good morals that will do right by you, then I think if you're happy with that, you've done your CRB check, you've done all that. You know,
He knows about the CRB.
You know, if you feel that is something that you want to invest your time and your effort into, and that person can be a good partner if you're a good girlfriend, then it's worth a go. Like, it's worth a go. But I mean, we were talking about off camera before. Like, that is an increasingly difficult thing to find now.
Proper.
You know, you guys have just come back from Ibiza, and you know, you can imagine probably in a year or two. I don't want to throw you under the bus, but like in a year or two, but there's going to be girls that potentially you come into contact with, and it's like maybe they had boyfriends or they're going to be with a boyfriend next year, and you think to yourself, God, if that boyfriend knew
what happened in that villa.
So,
what was that Jose Mourinho thing? What was he saying?
If I talk, I'd be in big trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's true though.
It's
like,
very true.
Me and Merck were saying, we were saying, if I feel sorry for some of these fellas, man.
yeah, for sure.
Because these girls are being run through and they are hot. They're hot. They're really hot. And then you'd never know. And then you look at them and you know what we know. And you're like,
it makes me sad. It generally upsets me.
You're part of the problem, though, mate.
The problem is the girls that you look at, you think they would never do anything like that. They are the ones.
Yeah, they're the
that
ones.
are doing that. You'd never ever know. They'd never put it on social media, even about who they're with. And you're at the place we was at and standing in our villa and stuff. And I say love you. I say no more.
But these are the ones you look at. They're the big followers. They're hot. And they're just.
They'll pull the wool in front of your eyes.
Yeah, they'll sell you the dream.
They'll play the game.
They'll sell you the
You
dream.
need to know how to play it better.
And I'm sold.
I think that's the hardest thing. So I guess like I remember someone saying to me the other day, I can't remember what the conversation was, but they said like, oh, did you see, so like there was some quite well-known celebrity or sports person. Oh, did you see their girlfriend? You'd think they'd have gone out with someone a bit more attractive or something like that. And it's like, I think there's a bit of method behind certain people, because I think, you know, if you want to find someone who's really good looking and has the morals, because you've got to remember these girls are getting hit on all
day, every day. Yeah,
100%.
100%.
All day, every day. Now, what you got to think about is if you're that boyfriend that's like, you know, you're having a blazing row, or like, you know, she's getting a bit pissed off because you actually aren't earning the money that you said you were, and you can't take her to the restaurant she wants to go, and you didn't buy the Rolex you said you were going to buy her, or whatever it might be, and suddenly she's going, I'm going to go away with the girls. You know, it's a recipe for disaster. And then they're going to get hit on from the airport. To when they're back at the airport. It's like, but it
doesn't stop. Yeah, you're right. No, you're right, mate. No, you're right.
And they've got the self-doubt with whatever situation they're in. It's a recipe for disaster. That's why some guys do pick safer options.
True. It's true. Very true.
I think a little girl next door, a homebody, like you think, you know what? Yeah, it doesn't exactly that. She'll be at home while you go out.
Your shoulder, basically.
It's true though. That like sometimes us guys turn around, like when we see a really, really good-looking girl out with a not so good-looking bloke, like, oh look, she must be out of her brother. You know what I mean? We know it's a fella, but like it works the other way, doesn't it? He's a safe option. She knows that he ain't gonna cheat on her. He ain't going to go out and flirt with other birds. He's not got loads of birds in his DMs and things like that. But it's a very hard balance to try and find, isn't it, in this day and age?
What the problem is with that as well, and this is why they kind of never last, is that what happens with that, because it's almost a difficult situation for that girl, because she effectively does, you do see a lot of that. They pick a guy who effectively physically is kind of subpar to her, and you think, God, how's he pulled that one off, or something like that. And actually she's probably gone with him for security, probably he looks after her, buys her everything, never in a billion Sundays is going to cheat on her, but she get bored because you know,
eventually,
you know, it's, for me, I think that if you're not on some level a flight risk, I don't mean a massive one.
Yeah, it's boring.
Just a tight. You've got to, like, a girl's got to, for me anyway. Like, I just think a girl will always be more comfortable knowing that she's won you than she's just settled for you. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Facts.
That's really true. Yeah, wow.
Facts.
Yeah,
100%, man.
because I think it's very easy to settle. No one likes settling.
No.
Yeah, I've never heard it put like that. Actually,
Yeah.
I've never heard heard it put that way, that a girl will feel more relaxed if she won you over.
I do believe men are the trophy, not the women.
It's a big statement, but I think that now, if you look around, you can do the percentages. I think I heard on one of those other podcasts, it was like, if you actually take into account what the ideal man might be. So, okay, first of all, they'll go like, oh, I want the guy to be a certain height. Okay, I want the guy to be good looking. Right, I want the guy to earn over £100,000 a year. Right, that takes you down to about 0.05%. And they're the ones that are single. Right, that takes you down to about 0.2%. And suddenly, how many on the scale of attractive, how many attractive women are out there?
Yeah, so true, man.
Wow.
It's another way of looking at this as well. When I said men are the trophy, if you ask a group of girls, like, would a man get with you based on how much you earn? And they say, no, that wouldn't be a factor. Okay. Would he get with you on what kind of job you have? No, that wouldn't be a factor. Would he get you on how pretty you are to an extent? Like if you don't have to be God's gift, would they probably still get with you? No, not really. A man has to be all of them.
Yeah.
A man has to be all of them.
And I think that
true.
One of the best sayings I've had, I think Joe Rogan mentioned it on a podcast, and it was that men live in quiet desperation. And it was one of the best sayings I've ever heard. I think that's the saying: quiet lives of desperation.
Yep.
Men lead quiet lives of desperation, or quiet desperation. But anyway, what that effectively means is that if you think about the average man will carry a huge inferiority complex, because it's like what we were saying about earlier, is if the man isn't earning enough money, then they might get a really good looking girl to go on a date with them. And she'll go, right, I want to go to Sexy Fish. He's thinking, fuck, that's my week's money. That's a week's money. If she orders champagne or cocktails, I'm pissed. I ain't paying my rent. I'm on £2,000 a month. That dinner's £500. That's a quarter of my monthly money. It's crazy. And I've got to pay for my car. And I've got to pay my credit card bill and my gym membership. You know,
yeah, it's so true, mate. It's so true.
The maths don't math.
No. Yeah, so true.
They don't, and that meal will cost you £500.
For sure.
So suddenly it's like, shit, I can't do it. So then, that builds the inferiority complex. Or suddenly, like we were saying about earlier, it's like the guy who's got so much money, but he hasn't got confidence to speak to a woman. So then they end up paying for it, or they end up whatever. It's like, so that person, has an inferiority complex. But with women, they get hit on 24 hours a day.
They just got to be there.
Yeah, got to be there.
And that's where, but again, it's like you want to find a woman who can police. Like I think Dan Bilzerian said, they've got to be able to police
their own shit. Yeah, 100%.
So women have different challenges. They have different challenges.
100%.
But then, if you've got a woman who spends all of her time grabbing attention on Instagram, like constantly chasing those likes, those comments, whatever it might be. What is that? That's validation, isn't it? So if someone's chasing validation, then if they don't get it from you, they'll get it from somewhere else. And that is the risk you'll always take with. So basically, to second your point, is that if you are a guy, there is a healthy amount of pressure on you to make sure that woman, when she's with you, it doesn't have an argument with you and think, fuck you, I've got 100 DMs waiting for me. I'm going to start working through them tonight. That...
True. No, it's scary, but
that part, isn't it? Every day the rent's due.
Yeah.
Looking over your shoulder.
So what's your advice, Tyron, to the younger guys that, that are going through this now. I mean, I suppose we're kind of in that bubble too, right? We're fully aware of it though, us guys, that we're constantly working on ourselves in every aspect of our lives, and we're pushing anybody that watches us and anyone that we interact with and meet with to constantly be doing that. Like our trip and our beef for them, we were just with some of the most amazing people that have got even more energy than us when it comes to motivation, and it's we feed off that. Do you know what I mean? And so and as you know, the message we try and push to the youngsters today is to try and do the same thing. So what advice have you got separately? Because like, you've clearly got a good way with words and you've got a lot of life experience in that. They're going through these things in their mind of, fucking, how much should I be earning? What job should I be doing? What should I be wearing? What places should I be going out to? Like, what advice have you got for those guys?
Actually, I could give some exceptional advice to these people. The one thing is that like, if someone lands on a video of me, I'm only speaking from my experience, they'll go, like, I did one today that's like really picked up loads of speed, and it was like, why do I spend 50 grand a year being driven around in a Rolls Royce? Well, the reality is that it allows me to work in the back, my hands are free, blah, 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 I can make money, and obviously I'll arrive in style, etc., etc. I'm not telling a 20-year-old to go and use the first 50 grand they make to pay for a Rolls Royce driver. What I'm saying is that that's a level you've got to aspire to, but the way you get to these levels of achievement, whether it's buying an expensive watch, driving a supercar, having a personal driver, whatever it might be, you've got to become a master at something. So the reason people fail is they chase too many rabbits. So 1 minute they're doing drop shipping, then they're doing trading, then they want to do a bit of real estate, then they want to work or their job, and then they want to do a side hustle, then they want to do Amazon, then they want to do, it's like, mate, you're never going to do it. You're literally going to make a grand here, a grand there, and you're never going to become an expert at something. Pick your route, doesn't matter what it is. Pick your route, become an expert at that. Work for years at it. Look what I did in 7 years. If you just knuckle down and become an expert at any subject, by the way, anything, and you learn how to apply business to that subject, and then the next stage is scalability. You've got to master the subject, but the thing is that there are masters of subjects that teach in schools. And the reason they teach in schools and they're not multimillionaires is because they've just become a master at a subject, but they've not learned how to apply business and scalability to it. So in that, they then just become a business studies teacher. Whereas actually, when you learn how to scale something and then replicate it, then you can become a billionaire, because all you're doing is taking the same structure and then you're just replicating it. And then you delegate somebody in place you hand that structure over to them. They scale that out. Their responsibility is the numbers they have to generate on that scalability. You take that, you drop it there. You take that, you drop it there. Before you know it, you've got seven of them all doing the same thing, and then you become a multimillionaire. And that's how it works. So for me, it's I know I've gone off on a tangent, but my advice to anyone who's kind of trying to make their way in the world is start off by becoming a master at something, and teach yourself how to then apply business to it. And from there, you'll find your route. If you just keep jumping from ship to ship, you'll fail. And then you'll go, I tried real estate, it wasn't for me. But of course it wasn't for you. You've done it for 6 months. Do it for 6 years constantly, and then you'll be an expert at it. Oh, I did trading, but it didn't work. You get what I'm saying?
100%.
So that's
to apply to it.
Yeah, that's my advice.
Wow.
Yeah, golden advice.
Listen, man, we could have you on.
Yeah.
This could have been a 2.5 hour.
Yeah, this could have been. Yeah.
Easy. It's a shame we can't talk forever. Maybe there'll be an episode 2 some point down the line.
I was going to say, I think we like manifesting, and I think we should manifest it right here and now. There should be an episode 2, and I think there's only one place for it.
Dubai.
Yeah.
Dubai, yeah. 100%.
Let's get episode 2 booked in for Dubai.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll get a nice.
This is on record.
It's on record now. People, you see what we manifested with our beef. We're now manifesting it with Dubai.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely.
100%.
No, it's been a real pleasure. And thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for coming.
It's been an honour. Yeah,
it's been great. Listen, guys, if you're new round here and you've made it this far, first of all, thank you very much for tuning in. We appreciate you. We've got big things planned. We ain't stopping. We're reaching for the stars. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment in the comment section below, and we shall see you in the next.
Peace.
Peace.